Hello and welcome to another episode of Party Lists. Today we're going to be talking about foreign-born individuals who are currently serving in our U.S. Congress. I think this is a really important topic today because we are seeing huge amounts of fraud, waste, and abuse in our government, and a lot of it is perpetrated by foreign-born individuals who are abusing our welfare system. And a lot of us are trying to figure out who turned a blind eye to this in our government and who knew about it. And it seems that a lot of this is linked to individuals who are foreign-born as well. So we're going to dig into some of these individuals' background, and we're going to see what are the rules for foreign-born individuals serving in our government. How do they get there? What's going on? And is there anything we can do about it? So let's dive in. All right, guys. So as usual, I have my notes here. There's a lot to cover today. So what we're going to talk about first is the makeup of the United States Congress. The House of Representatives is called the lower chamber because it has more members. There are 435 voting members, and it's designed to represent the population of each state more directly. And then you have the Senate, that's called the upper chamber. It's a little harder to get in there, and they have fewer members. There's only 100 total. They've got 2 per state instead of the 435 of the House of Representatives. So to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives, the lower chamber, you must be at least 25 years old. So if you are 25, check, you're allowed to serve. You must also have been a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years, and you must live in the state you represent at the time of the election. But the Constitution doesn't say how long you have had to live in the state that you are running in. So you could potentially have just moved there specifically for this purpose, which leads to a lot of shady dealings, in my opinion. So there are some minor rules for voter registration or filing paperwork, but there's really no law or rule of how long you have to live in a state. So you could be a 25-year-old fresh off the boat from somewhere, have lived here and been naturalized 7 years ago. So you could have come here as a teenager, lived here wherever for 7 years, moved to any state that has a high immigrant population that you think you might have a chance of getting elected by. And then you could potentially have a bunch of super PACs give you money to run, and then you would be elected. That is terrifying. So for the U.S. Senate, you have a little bit harder of some rules to follow. You have to be 30 years old, at least 30. But when we think about how old the founders and the framers were of the Constitution and our founding fathers, they were very young. A lot of them were 18, 19, 25. They were young. So of course, our modern day youth are just not as qualified, in my opinion. So you have to be, for the U.S. Senate, at least 30 years old, and you have to have been a U.S. citizen for at least 9 years. The key point here is there is no natural-born citizen requirement to run for Congress and serve. That only exists for the presidency. So those rules were written into the original Constitution in 1787. So our country was, of course, founded in 1776, but the government first convened under the Constitution in 1789. So interestingly, James Madison was considered the father of the Constitution, and he was 36 years old when this was created. So he was about my age. And he decided that he didn't want to pose strict limitations on naturalized citizens because he thought it would disqualify some talented foreign-born individuals from serving. But let's consider what was going on back then. When we look at some of these key figures, most of the founders were colonial born. So that would be George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Franklin, Adams, Madison, and John Hancock. But you have got some very important characters who were not born in America. And those would have been Alexander Hamilton, who was born in the Caribbean. You've got Robert Morris, who's born in England. You have James Wilson, Scotland, Button Gwinnett, Gloucester, England. And you have George Taylor, Matthew Thornton, James Smith, they are from Ireland. And you had Francis Lewis, who is from Wales. So of course, at the time, some of our founding fathers were born outside of the colonies. So they obviously wouldn't want to exclude those people. And that's what they were thinking about back in the day. They were not thinking about people from third world countries being escorted into our country by the Democrats to just be bought and paid for shills to do whatever they wanted and cause chaos and discontent and destroy our country. So that was not the goal of our founding fathers. And unfortunately, that seems to be where we are headed to. So these rules have never been changed, and Congress itself cannot add any new eligibility requirements. So if we wanted to change anything, If we want to change the age, the citizenship requirement, the residency requirement, neither Congress nor the states could just change them. The only way would be through a constitutional amendment, which it's extremely difficult. I mean, you'd have to have 2/3 of both the House and the Senate would agree. It would never happen. Or 2/3 of state legislators, which would be 34 out of 50. And then the proposed amendment would have to be ratified by 3/4 of the states, 38 out of 50, to become a law. For the president, the rules are you must be a natural born citizen, at least 35. So this rule was included because they wanted to reduce the risk of foreign influence on the most powerful office in our country. And the framers worried that a foreign-born commander-in-chief would have divided loyalties, which we could not have. We needed someone loyal to our country, who cared about our country, to be our commander-in-chief. But for Congress, they just had age, citizenship, duration, and residency because they were individuals acting collectively. So they thought, how much trouble can you really get into? You don't have a lot of power by yourself. Now, here is the crazy part, which to me is absolutely bizarre. Is dual citizenship allowed? Can you be a citizen of our country and another country and still serve in our government? Well, you're probably sitting there like, of course you can't. How can you have a dual citizenship somewhere else and then be making laws for people who live in America? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. Unfortunately, yes, the U.S. Constitution does not prohibit dual citizenship for members of Congress. So there's no clause that says you have to be a sole citizen of the United States, or that you must even renounce your citizenship from another country. Think about that for a second. Literally, there is no automatic disqualification. And here's the worst part. You do not even have to disclose that you are a dual citizen of another country. So you could be a 25-year-old who came here 7 years ago, became a naturalized citizen, and moved to wherever that you thought you could get elected or that a super PAC was going to pay for your campaign. And you could continue to be a citizen of a foreign country with allegiance to that country, and you wouldn't even have to tell us. That is shocking and horrifying. So we only even know if someone is a dual citizen if they publicly disclose it themselves, and they don't have to. And the clearest, most documented example of this is actually Ted Cruz. So he was born in Canada. Good old Ted was born in Canada to an American mother, and he had U.S. and Canadian citizenship at birth, but he actually renounced it voluntarily just to show us that he is a good dude. I'm glad he did it. So the founders, they prioritized allegiance over birthplace, and they thought if you had enough time as a U.S. citizen and you had residency among the people that you represented, that you would have accountability through elections, that elections they believed were fair. And at the time, I'm sure they were. They thought there was a low chance of anything ridiculous happening. Unfortunately, as we have seen with our insanely fraudulent elections, for example, in Minnesota, they have discovered that one person can vouch for 8 other individuals. You could literally vouch for 8 other illegals and have them vote. So of course, that's the problem that's happening. They are running completely fraudulent elections. What the intention was for the founders and the framers of the Constitution, it just simply is not happening. That is highly disturbing if you actually care about the integrity of the people who are running our country and making laws that affect all of us. So let's talk now about how many foreign-born members are serving in our Congress. So that would be in both the House and the Senate. There are actually 32 foreign-born individuals who are currently serving. 32. There are 26 members of the U.S. House who are foreign-born, and there are 6 members of the U.S. Senate who were born outside the United States. Now, 15% of the current U.S. population is foreign-born. When we think about the total members, we got 32 total members between the House and Senate. 26 in the House, 6 in the Senate. 24 of them are Democrats. So where are these people from? That's something that is critical to look into. So we've got 4 people, mostly House reps from Mexico. We've got 4 people from Mexico. You've got California, Arizona, and Illinois, where they are representatives. We've got 3 House members and 1 senator from India. And they represent Washington, Illinois, Michigan, and Colorado. All Democrats, of course. You've got 3 House members are from Germany. Now, some of these people were born to parents stationed overseas. Now, if your parents are military and they're serving overseas, I have no quarrel with you. Totally fine, whatever. You're foreign on paperwork only. I'm talking about people who literally did not grow up here presuming to make laws for the people of America. People who do not share our culture or values coming here and telling us how our country is going to be run. And I'll expand more upon that later. We've got 2 House members from South Korea. We've got 2 House members from Ukraine. They were elected during a time of focus on Eastern Europe. So what better way to get funding pushed through for their country than to have them inserted into our government? Interesting, very interesting. We've got 2 House members from Peru. We've got 2 people from Japan serving. We've got 2 people from Canada. Of course, one of them is Ted Cruz. So who are these people? When did they come here? Because to me, that's the key point. If you were just born elsewhere and you came here as a baby and you grew up here, that's a lot less concerning to me than people who are foreign born and came here in, their middle age, which actually some of these folks, that's the case. That worries me. And before I go any further, I want to discuss why this worries me. Like I said, we've got a huge amount of fraud, waste, and abuse. We have people funneling money that they're stealing from our welfare programs, with our Minnesota case being front and center here, to terrorists, to Al-Shabaab. We've got all sorts of things going on, and it's a massive cover-up perpetrated by people that they have inserted who are foreign-born and have no allegiance to our country whatsoever. When you're naturalized, you have to swear an oath to the United States. These people could not care less, allegedly. They are swearing in that they are loyal to our country, and then we are witnessing them flagrantly commit fraud, waste, and abuse, or even just put forward legislation that harms American citizens. And so all you can do is conclude that they are Trojan horses installed by people who wish chaos and harm upon our nation. And that's terrifying. So let's go over some of these folks. We have the most famous currently, Ilhan Omar. She was born in Mogadishu, Somalia in 1982. Her family arrived in the United States around 1995. She was about 13 after spending time as refugees in Kenya. Okay. She became a U.S. citizen at around the age of 17. This is pretty much unclear. We've got a bunch of issues with her where she allegedly married her brother, committed immigration fraud.
They have a representative, Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. It's a fraud. She tries to deny it now, but you can't really deny it because, it just happened. She shouldn't be allowed to be a congresswoman, and I'm sure people are looking at that. And she should be thrown the hell out of our country.
All sorts of horrible things going on. And then, of course, she is the principal person who is allegedly tied to all of this fraud and funneling money back to her country. Now, I have personally seen countless videos of her saying she's in Somalia. She makes frequent trips to Somalia, which is a third world country, absolutely barbaric. Wouldn't wish living there on my worst enemy, but she frequently travels there and is on record saying in her own language to her people that they are her people. Her whole goal of being in our administration is to advance the Somalian cause and, make sure that she's getting them whatever they need.
jawaabteedu waxay ahayd dawladda Mareykanka waxay ka qabanaysaa wixii annaga aan dhahno dawladda Mareykanka ka qabo. Waa kalsoonidaas inaan isku qabno annaga Soomaali haddii aan nahay. Wadankan annaga ku nool. Wadankan wadankii aan annaga tax ka dhiibno waaye. Waa wadankii gabar idinka dhalatayne ee Congress-ka fadhiso. Intii aniga aan Congress joogo wadanka Soomaaliya biyaheeda dad kaleeta iyo badeeda dad kale ma qaadanayaan. Wadanka Mareykankana kuma taageerayo dad kaleeta in annaga ayna dhacaan.
She's a traitor. If that is the case, then she is an absolute traitor to our country. We should never install anyone into our government whose entire purpose is to help others. If you want to come here and become a naturalized citizen, that's wonderful. You should only be loyal to our country. You should contribute to our country. You should help make life better for everyone here. And you should forget about all of the other places that you came from, because that is no longer your country. You swore allegiance to our country. Now, remember the dual citizenship rule that you don't have to disclose? She could still be a dual citizen of Somalia and we have no idea. Are you comfortable with that? Does that make you feel warm and fuzzy inside? Because it doesn't to me, especially with the billions and billions of dollars that has been stolen and smuggled out by her people, as she calls them. She doesn't call us her people. So many videos of her that I will play here where she is just being incredibly disrespectful to our country, and she's one of the most unlikable people currently in our Congress. I have no idea how she was installed.
The one place where we thought we would never experience this is the U.S. goddamn states.
They literally did not grow up here and have no idea what it was like to be an American, to grow up as an American, to have an American childhood. They are foreign-born individuals who had a completely different way of life, different cultures, different religions, different everything, and then are coming here and tearing down the fabric of our society, and I find it deeply disturbing.
These people are just idiots. I really, I'm at the point where it's become really hard to have an intellectual debate with any of these people, because the level of stupidity that they are displaying every single day is frankly embarrassing, not just in Congress, but as Americans. And the fact that these people are allowed to say just the most ridiculous things tells you that the dumbing of the United States has arrived, because how else do we get a Trump presidency again?
My favorite, or rather least favorite individual on my list that I want to dig into today is the very strange, deeply weird, and obnoxious Shri Thanedar. He is the representative for Michigan. So let's talk about this guy. He has been in the news. Every time I see him, I laugh hollowly because of his bizarre toupee, his incredibly strange and off-putting smile, and I just stare at it like a train wreck. This guy, this foreigner is currently trying to abolish our immigration agents and their entire enforcement agency.
Earlier today, Michigan Democrat Shri Thanedar introduced a bill to abolish ICE. He cited the killing of Renee Nicole Good and the arrest of Americans by ICE as reasons to terminate the agency.
And we must, finally, we must reform ICE. But it looks at this stage, folks, ICE is beyond reform. ICE is totally out of control. And this week, I intend to introduce a bill to abolish ICE. We need to make ICE go away. 2003, before 2003, without ICE, various federal agencies were able to take care of business, and we can do this without ICE. But we do not need the murderers. We do not need this paramilitary organizations, members on our street.
He's trying to make it so that we have no one who will remove foreign pedophiles, rapists, and murderers and illegal criminals from our streets. That's what this foreign man is trying to do. And that's why I am naming and shaming him today, because this defies comprehension, and we have got to stop allowing these people to be elected into our government and then making laws that endanger every single one of the native-born citizens here.
Is with us. All right, just to be clear, the president's joint session speech when he honored the family of Laken Riley, murdered 24-year-old nursing student, murdered by an unvetted illegal immigrant, and honored little Jocelyn Nungary's family, brutally raped and murdered a 12-year-old girl. Did you stand? Did you give honor to that family that lost so much?
Look, Sean, thanks for having me.
I don't need the thanks. Did you stand or not? Did you stand to honor those families?
I did not stand because the president.
You sat on your ass.
I was just sick of the president.
So I want to be clear.
I did not.
You sat on your ass, and you wouldn't stand for families of that lost children, a 12-year-old girl raped and murdered, and you couldn't stand for them because you were playing politics. Is that right? I want this audience to know.
Look, I would not stand for this president. I would not stand for this president. He was lying.
You weren't standing for
boasting.
them. You were standing for the families that lost little girls that were murdered by the illegal immigrants that you want to remain in the country. Is that true or false? Have you ever called an American family that has been a victim, murdered, raped, tortured by an illegal immigrant? Yes or no, Congressman? Did you ever call them?
I have met people. I am sure I have met people.
I'll take that as a no. All right. You actually said this, and, you know, I could talk to you all night about the dumb stuff you say. You voted against the bill mandating the deportation of illegal immigrants convicted of sex crimes. Can you explain that to me?
Well, look, anybody who breaks U.S. laws, an immigrant that breaks U.S. laws, should be deported. Anyone that commits
That's not what you said.
should be deported.
Sir, you voted against the bill that mandated the deportation of illegals convicted of sex crimes. Do you regret that vote now?
No, I don't regret that vote. Look, no bill is perfect, and many times...
What if it was your wife, your sister, your daughter that was raped? That's a sex crime. You want that person to stay?
Look, there are multiple things in a bill.
So, let's dig into this guy. Shri Thanedar. He was first elected to Michigan state legislature in 2020, so he served in their Congress, their state Congress. And then he became a representative for Detroit in 2022. He is in charge of an area that's about 80% black. On his own website, he was born into a large family in southern India, and at times his family home lacked running water and electricity. He did not have an American experience growing up here, and he came here extremely late in life. So he was born in 1955 in Shikondi, India. He came to the United States in 79 at age 24 to pursue a PhD in polymer chemistry. After he studied here, he then became a U.S. citizen in 1988 at the age of 33. So the guy was basically my age when he became a naturalized citizen of our country. He was raised Hindu. He is still a Hindu. Let's go over reminder of what Hinduism is. They believe in gods and goddesses with strange forms, blue-skinned preserver gods, elephant-headed gods. You've got warrior goddesses with multiple arms. You've got monkey gods. Insane, strange. They represent cosmic principles and all kinds of stuff. This is not compatible with our culture and our belief system at all. This guy worked in the private sector. He owned and operated chemical testing labs, which, of course, gross. Don't like that. He first ran for office in 2018, so he tried to run for governor of Michigan. So this guy has been desperate for power. This foreign man who came here, took advantage of our resources, made himself a millionaire, and then decided he wanted control of our citizens. And of course, it was Michigan. He spent over $10 million of his own money trying to get himself elected, and he did not win. There's a hilarious article on Jezebel, which is a filthy publication, but this article was just so funny that I could not help myself but put it in here. So the title of this Jezebel article is Fake Progressive Running for Michigan Governor. Hello, black people. I too enjoy Popeyes. I laughed out loud when I read this because, honestly, he is deeply fake. The article goes on to say there are three major candidates in the race for the next governor of Michigan. Gretchen Whitmer, who, of course, eventually won. And then Shri Thanedar, completely fake progressive, who claims he'll be a fiscally savvy Bernie, but he didn't even decide whether to run as a Democrat or Republican until last year, multiple sources told The Intercept last week. The article is absolutely hilarious. And it just goes to show that this guy had no intention of actually being a real person with real values and convictions. He just wanted power, and he was going to get it in any way possible. But he spent $10 million. He did not win, thankfully. But unfortunately, he didn't stop. So in 2020, 2 years later, he was elected into the Michigan House of Representatives. He is representing Detroit. Like I said, this left the city of Detroit 80% black, without black representation in Congress for the first time since the 1950s. Really don't understand if he won legitimately, but God bless the people of Detroit. That's who they have to represent their black community. 80% black. They've got this Indian man who is a Hindu. Wonderful. So then in 2022, 2 years later after that, he ran for Michigan's 13th congressional district for the House. He self-funded, again, because this guy's a millionaire, so he's just paying to play. And he funded more than $5 million of his campaign. He won the Democratic primary and the general election. So let's dig in a little further to what this guy believes, because Jezebel seems to think he's fake. They were spot on with this guy, because watch the flip-flops. This is, oh, my blood was boiling reading this stuff about Mr. Thanedar and his ridiculous behavior. So originally, once this guy had clawed his way to power, he co-sponsored a legislative resolution in Michigan against funding to Israel. Great. Love that, because we shouldn't be funding anything related to Israel, in my opinion. Wonderful. He called Israel an apartheid state. Okay. All right. The resolution was part of his record when he ran for the U.S. House. All right. Have no problems with that. But you would think that that would be some deeply held, belief that this man had. No, because after that happened, pro-Israel political groups decided that they would purchase him, allegedly. And a super PAC called Blue Wave Action, which is linked to the pro-Israel lobby, and of course AIPAC. AIPAC is our wonderful Israeli-American working together, but really it's to advance Israel's causes in all things and basically control all of our politicians. Go to trackapac.com to see which politicians are bought and paid for by AIPAC. And this has been confirmed by multiple people, including Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Billionaire donors that literally put another country, another foreign country before our own, are able to buy a congressional seat, then the American people completely lose representation.
Yeah,
and that would be the end.
That's assuming they have it now. I mean, about 70%, and this is across both parties, of members of Congress take AIPAC money. That's gone on for my whole life, as far as I know, but no one ever talked about it until this year. And now people understand what that is, if it's a foreign lobby acting on behalf of a foreign government. And I just wonder, can that continue? Can people, will there be a town hall meeting with a member of Congress in the next year where that person isn't asked, why are you taking money from a foreign lobby?
Oh, I think we're going to see that in this election cycle. It's already happening. I just saw that AIPAC is now trying to get donations to their politicians they support through back channels, not directly coming from AIPAC, so it doesn't show up on their FEC reports. That's a big deal because people have had it. People are so sick of it. They don't want their elected leaders to be bought off for a foreign country, any foreign country, not just Israel, any foreign country.
So why isn't AIPAC registered? Why aren't they registered under FARA? I don't understand that.
I think everybody's too afraid to push that issue.
Why?
Tucker, I have no idea. Because I think it's because it's such a strong group that will come against you. They will come against you. They will fund a primary against you. I'll probably get a primary funded against me for even saying this on this show. But you know what? I don't care.
I think you were getting one anyway.
Oh, I'm sure.
Each person in our Congress has an AIPAC handler to ensure that they don't step out of line and that they vote to fund Israel's interests. They are all taken on trips multiple times to Israel. It's become a running joke. You've got to go kiss the wall. And then that way, everybody knows, oh, you're good. I've kissed the wall, okay? AIPAC, give me money. I've kissed the wall. I did it. I'll vote whatever you want. I'll give you all of our money. Only Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie have not accepted a single dollar. I believe Donald Trump himself has accepted over $260 million from Israel, from AIPAC. Same thing. Okay, back to Mr. Thanedar. He said that Israel was awful. We shouldn't fund them. They're an apartheid state. And then these lobbying groups, pro-Israel lobbying groups, suddenly funded $2.3 million for his campaign on mail for him, attacking his opponent, and he got elected. And so suddenly he publicly embraced a more pro-Israel stance. He said the U.S.-Israel relationship was mutually beneficial, which is demonstrably false. They've done nothing for us ever. They just suck all of our money away. And he went to Israel. He had a trip related to pro-Israel organizations. Wow, $2.3 million was his price. So this guy will do whatever you want for money. Bought and paid for, allegedly. Okay, so then this wonderful guy who is controlling our destinies here in America, he also was a Democratic Socialist. So then he renounced his membership to the Democratic Socialists after the group's chapter promoted a pro-Palestinian rally shortly after Hamas's terror attack on Israel. Hamas is evil, horrible, vile, reprehensible, disgusting, but I find it hilarious that he renounced his membership with that group because AIPAC had funded $2.3 million of his campaign. So that was interesting. And I will remember he's the representative for Detroit, and folks there, I'm sure, do not agree with his belief system. So we elected a president, and this foreigner decided that he was going to introduce articles of impeachment. Even his own party didn't support it, and everybody sort of denounced it, and it was just strange. But it's just par for the course for people who come here and think they can presume to tell our country and the millions of people who voted for Trump that he's going to just try to take away our rights to choose our president. Interesting. The guy participates in several caucuses. Listen to a few of these ridiculous caucuses that this man is in. He is in the Black Maternal Health Caucus. No one better than an old Indian man for the Black Maternal Health Caucus. The Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus. Remember, a caucus is just a group of people who use our tax dollars to meet about things unofficially. And, you know, it's like a think tank, like a brain trust. We can get together and try to advance whatever the cause is. The Climate Solutions Caucus, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the Congressional Equality Caucus, the New Democrat Coalition. In 2023, get this, he helped launch the Hindu, Buddhist, and Sikh and Jain American Congressional Caucus, a bipartisan group focused on combating religious discrimination for those communities. And he's also associated with a group of Indian American lawmakers, sometimes nicknamed the Samosa Caucus. So he basically is trying to advance these pagan, false, crazy religions that foreigners have come in and brought to our country. We are a Christian nation. In God we trust. Sound familiar? He's trying to bring these pagan faiths here and destroy the very fabric of our nation. And he's blatantly launching caucuses to advance this. Do the people of Detroit really care about your Hindu Buddhist congressional caucus? Because I find that extremely strange that those folks would legitimately vote for a guy who is doing this kind of thing. And he's flip-flopped a million times. I want to show you his website. I want to show you the insane bills that this guy brings forth. The top of his website, this is obnoxious, okay? He has the Abolish ICE Act as a little header. So you click on that and it says Congressman Shri Thanedar introduces the Abolish ICE Act. Today, he's introduced the Abolish ICE Act, legislation that would dismantle the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and end its current enforcement authority. Since ICE's establishment in 2003, they've prioritized aggressive enforcement and violence rather than due process. Americans are being terrorized. Americans are being terrorized? I don't feel very terrorized. Oh, do you mean the illegal alien rapists and people who broke into our country? Those people are being terrorized? Good. They should be. They've killed an insane amount of our citizens. They are murdering and raping people daily. And even the good ones, whoever those people are, they broke in here illegally. They cut the line and they should not be here. This guy wants to dismantle the only agency that protects you and I and our children from violent pedophiles and rapists. Wow. Are you surprised? Because I certainly am not. This is what happens when you elect a Trojan horse. And we currently have 32 foreign-born people. Now, some of them, like I said, not a problem if you're born to our U.S. military members. So not all 32 are Trojan horses, but when you have Ilhan Omar funneling money to her Somalian people who she clearly has said on multiple videos that she represents, and those are her actual people, and she's advancing their wishes and causes. I mean, allegedly. You have all of these other folks, and all of them are trying to abolish ICE. These are immigrants who want to remove ICE. Of course, these immigrants want to destroy our immigration system and allow for anybody and everybody to come in with no oversight whatsoever. Why is it that the native-born Americans have more of a problem with this than the foreign-born people? It's common sense. If you elect a foreigner, they're going to make sure that their former country or foreign, influence is going to be front and center. So, unfortunately, our founders had a different world than we do, where we didn't have unchecked illegal immigration. We didn't have people like George Soros funding mass chaos and trying to destroy the very fabric of our society. They couldn't have even fathomed this happening. So the rules were made to emphasize citizenship over time. They thought that people would actually be loyal to this country for what it had given them, and they couldn't have possibly understood how tragically we would have let our country decline and what could have happened. So they believe that representation should be open to those who commit to our country. Unfortunately, people like Omar have fraudulently become citizens and then continue to state that they have allegiance to their former countries, which you're in my opinion, you're immediately a traitor. Get out. You should be thrown out. My takeaway from all of this is that I don't have a problem with skin color or ethnicity. I have a problem with foreign ideology. I have a problem with people bringing in pagan religions, pagan beliefs, still holding allegiance to foreign countries, advancing causes that Americans don't want, that don't help us, that are harmful to us, like abolishing our immigration enforcement agency that keeps us safe from predators that the previous administration and these corrupt Congress people let in. I think they have a lack of shared values they don't want to assimilate. Just look at the caucuses that they are creating. It's incredibly partisan. I don't appreciate the loyalty to other cultures. When I traveled abroad and I lived abroad for years, I realized that we Americans actually do have a distinct culture. And it may be hard if you are an American, you were born here and you've never really traveled, to understand what your culture is. But it is incredible. We have a style of working, majority Christian, the food we eat, the way we spend our time with family. All of this is unique to our country. And when you go abroad, you see how other people do things differently. Our holidays, everything about our country is very unique and interesting and wonderful. And if you travel abroad, you will see that. And people that are coming here that don't appreciate that and won't assimilate and want to just bring their other culture from their failed country here, I have a huge issue with that. That disturbs me, because if you love that so much, then stay there. Fix the place you came from. You do not get to come here and destroy my country, because where am I supposed to go? It's that simple. Everyone has a right to their own culture and country, so why do so many people want to come here and destroy mine? It's simply unacceptable. I have a problem with an Indian man coming here and trying to destroy what we voted for, to try to impeach our democratically elected president. Who are you? What are you doing? I believe and trust and support what the framers were trying to do, but we have got to stop voting these foreigners into office, which of course means eliminating the fraud that's going on, the voting fraud, which is blatant. So it's not even a question anymore. It's not a conspiracy theory. Scott Presler has exposed how one individual can bring in and vouch for 8 other people in Minnesota.
Joining us now, conservative activist and early vote action founder, Scott Presler. Scott, welcome to the program. You're on the ground a lot, and you love registering people to vote. But this is concerning. Not only are they doing it same day with an ID, without an ID, but they allow other people to vouch for other voters.
Yes, I want to be very clear. This is according to Minnesota state law that with vouching, no proof of residency is required. No photo or voter ID is required. If we were all living in the same neighborhood, I could vouch for you, Lawrence, and say, I know Lawrence, I know Will Kane, and just simply my vouching and you guys signing an oath declaring that you are following the law, you will be handed 2 ballots and you will be able to vote. And if I have 6 other friends that I vouch for, my 1 registered voter in Minnesota could get 8 voters. Now, what's even more concerning, and you just said this earlier, is that if I were an employee at a residential facility, according to state law, I could vouch for unlimited voters by simply showing proof of being an employee at the residential facility. And so thanks to Nick Shirley, we are now exposing potential fraud when it comes to our election system.
And that's how Ilhan Omar got elected, because you've got like 100,000 Somalis who voted her in. And we have to protect our country from this foreign influence. We have to stop allowing these people to be elected. We have to pass the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act ensures that only citizens vote. It's that simple. And yet we cannot get that passed by our Congress because they know that so many of those folks are elected exclusively through fraud. So we need to elect Americans who grew up here, understand our way of life, our culture, and our values, and that's it. Now, what's interesting is a really awful representative from Florida, Randy Fine. Okay, this guy is an Israeli shill, completely paid for by AIPAC, literally said that he didn't want to wash his hand after Netanyahu shook it. I mean, this guy's despicable. But he had a rare win, and in October of last year, he actually introduced the Disqualifying Dual Loyalty Act, and this legislation prohibits individuals who hold foreign citizenship from serving the United States Congress. So under the bill, you would have to renounce any foreign citizenship before you were elected to serve. So he wanted to make sure that people owe their full allegiance to the United States and the United States alone. It's funny coming from him, but of course that's just common sense to ensure that there's some public trust in the people who are in our government. I think that what the founders intended was noble, but the world that they existed in is not the world that we have today. If we can fix our system and there is a foreign-born individual who is extremely talented, who can provide a lot towards our country, who is loyal to our country and assimilated and clearly wants the best for the citizens of this country, I have no problem electing them. But if they are a foreigner who wants to tear down our society and advance their pagan religion, get out. How dare you? How dare you? So this is some food for thought. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next time on Partyless.